Welcome to another episode of Shots from the Winchester podcast, where we explore leadership topics from a variety of perspectives. This podcast is brought to you by Greencastle Consulting, your nation's premier strategy execution firm. Today, we're having a very down-to-earth conversation with Matt Blank of Chronemic Consulting, one of our VetFest sponsors and a friend of Greencastle, and his father, Jack Blank, a Navy veteran and photographer. I've known Matt since the days when he was a DJ and I was an event videographer working a lot of weddings, and we used to run into each other all the time, and we're still running into each other even though we've changed careers, so that's got to mean something, right? The conversation is largely built around legacy, and we pose the question, what's more important, money or time? Leave a comment on that below. We'd love to hear what your view is on that. We pick up the conversation with Matt and I talking about how people get in the way of professional photographers while capturing important moments. Let's dive in.
But to your conversation of the bride hires you to get the right shot,
of
her coming down and capture that moment, right, in an artistic view, in the caliber camera that you have. And all of a sudden you have Uncle Denny over here with with his Nokia,
with his little phone out,
trying to get the picture. Thanks.
It's like, thanks for ruining that shot. She's going to see you in that shot. Yeah,
I'm guilty of that. Rachel's wedding, they were walking up the aisle, and the photographers were at the altar looking down, and I'm like reaching over trying to take pictures of everybody, not just Rachel coming up, but the whole group.
We could probably write a book just on things that we've seen at weddings.
Oh my God, yeah. There's so many things that I've seen. I won't get into it so much, but there's definitely at least a novel worth of content that I could come up with from the weddings that I've shot at.
But the lesson I've learned, and I apply that now, and I know we'll get into this, is when a bride plans her wedding, she's been planning her entire life.
Right.
She's thought about the moment that she's going to walk down the aisle. She's thought about what it's going to feel like to walk down the aisle and celebrate this love with all of her friends. Friends.
Right.
The actual dedicated planning is what? 2 years, 18 months.
Right.
$30,000 to $100,000, even more, goes into this 5-hour confined event that everything has to go perfect.
Yeah.
And we look at experiences we have in professional services, that's just drawn out over a long period engagement.
Absolutely.
But just some of the horror stories I've seen, where, I remember we had a wedding where we still used CDs back in the day.
Oh my God.
Back in the day when I was a DJ, we used to carry these CDs around after records.
Yeah.
And we would record a new CD for every wedding that was like the specific song. So the Walking Down the Aisle song, the Bride's First Dance song, just so it was there. And we had had to do it. I had one DJ once that he went to a wedding and he didn't listen to the CD prior to make sure all the songs were in the right order.
No.
And it's a really sad story because the song she was walking down the aisle to was "Let Me Be Your Hero" by Enrique Iglesias.
Oh, yeah,
absolutely.
And anyway, so you got 200 people in the audience. She's about to walk down the aisle. He hits play on the song, not paying attention, and the intern downloaded the wrong version of the song, and it was the 9/11 memorial version.
Oh,
of the song.
no!
So you hear these news bites of that terrible day.
Oh,
and DJ doesn't know what to do in that moment, but this bride's planned this moment in her entire life.
Yeah,
and just by one intern not checking LimeWire or Napster or whatever she downloaded it on, it changed that whole trajectory of that day for him and for everybody. I'm sure they laugh about it now as a family. But in the moment, I'm sure that was pretty
that's something we can get into a little bit, like attention to detail. Yeah, like understanding that. This is your assignment. Make sure you see it through, and make sure it's appropriate for what you're trying to do, because there's been so many times where I've been in a situation where I'm like, if they had just been a little bit more prepared, this could have been so much better. This could have been these things could have been avoided.
Preparation is so important. When
it's super important. And as an event videographer, as I was, as a DJ, as you are, that's the time. You don't have another opportunity to do anything else. You can't just say pause, stop, cut. You can't do any of that stuff. No. This is life. Yeah. And you just keep moving forward, and you just have to just just eat it, you know?
I always do in my programs, I talk about how, you know, the lights only go on once, or the curtains only go up once. You only get one first impression. There's no second first impression.
Right.
So, you know, when I work with accountants and attorneys and bankers and very smart, intelligent people, sometimes the soft skills of emotional intelligence kind of goes over their head. Like, oh, I don't know it's so important that when I meet somebody for the first time, I should treat them as if they're the most important person in the room.
Absolutely.
And you told me that, you know, being able to just smile at people when you first meet them and make them feel extra special.
Yeah.
You know, that goes a long way at creating this positive memory. And it could be some simple detail as I'm talking to you, my phone buzzes. I find that phone to be more important than you. So I look at it and you're talking to me and all of a sudden I'm putting my attention elsewhere.
Right.
And that little detail could change the way the perception is of me.
Absolutely.
Because I showed you that something else is more important than you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we talk about that, especially I did a thing recently about active listening. You know, and active listening isn't just actively listening, it's also the body language that you're presenting to someone. Like if you're looking down at your phone while they're talking, they can't absolutely imagine that you're that you're paying attention to them. So you've got to be here. You've got to be here. Your devices need to be away. You need to be, you know, present in,
I'm curious
in
for
the
you,
moment. Yeah.
Growing up, you know, in the 60s and the 70s before phones were attached to everyone's hip.
Right.
What was that distraction look like for you when you were growing up? Like for us, that's it. The phone is the
phone,
major distraction.
Right. Yeah.
I can't imagine people would just pull out a newspaper mid conversation. Hold on a second.
I can't make any comparisons between, like, you know, a phone today, you know, and the distractions that come with that, and thinking about what the distractions would have been, you know, back in the day. You know, for me growing up, you know, television was like my biggest distraction.
Yeah.
You know, everything was geared around, you know, like what show was on at 8 o'clock or 8:30 or 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
You know, and no matter what was happening, our interaction, hey, Star Trek is coming on at 8 o'clock. I have to be there. So it was good talking to you, but this is where I have to go.
Yeah, yeah.
Captain Kirk needs me.
That's a good thing. Just so we get into this conversation a bit, before we get too deep into it, I just want to let you guys know we're talking to Matt Blank and we're talking to Jack Blank, and we are your Chronemic.
Yeah,
that's your business.
Yeah.
That's your baby.
Yeah.
How long have you been doing Chronemic?
18 months. I've been on my own 18 months, and it's been a fun 18 months.
Nice.
You know, I've always been you know, an employee of a company my entire career.
Right.
And last year when I was turning 40, I had this kind of like thought of like, what's the second half of my life? If I'm lucky, I get another 40 years.
Yeah.
And you know, always applying this kind of blue collar work ethic that I've learned from him from growing up. I said, you know what, let me take a chance on myself.
Right.
You know, and the company was founded on the idea that my natural skill set of teaching people, and I love, that's my passion, is being able to help people with what I'm good at, which is connecting with people.
Yeah.
Creating authentic, organic relationships is something I've just always had my entire life.
Wow.
You know, back when I was a 12-year-old trying to fit in with the kids, you know, from the different neighborhoods of growing up, you know, I've just always been that guy that brought people together. Was at an accounting firm for a long time. And I realized that accountants, believe it or not, don't have the ability to authentically create relationships with people. You know, their comfort zone is behind that Excel spreadsheet. And you know, you put them in front of a spreadsheet, they are a wizard with it.
Yeah.
You put them in a room of 100 strangers, and they're not themselves.
They're just socially inept in that way, I guess, in some ways.
And I don't want to generalize over them because they're great people, but just it sometimes didn't come natural to them. A majority of them. So you know, being able to give them the skills and the confidence to be able to go, it's life changing. It's much deeper than just throwing a name tag on and going into a room and networking and trying to hand out business cards and creating engagements. It's how do I have deeper relationships with the people that matter, so that I can live a much more fulfilled life. So that's what I'm all about. So I decided in April of last year to go on my own and start this journey. And you know, the reason for it was I wanted my daughters to look at their dad when they got older, and the lesson that I taught them that, you know, it's important to make a bet on yourself, and if you put the prep in, the hard work in, the rest should do its thing.
I love that part. Bet on you. Bet on yourself. You know, I think we put a lot of pressure on ourselves as people. We're in this rush, kind of hurried society, you know, and especially in cities, you know, we're rushing around all the time, and you know, it's good to sit back and take time to identify your goals and shoot for those goals, especially
part of a low light of my life. My wife and I weren't in the best place in our relationship because my goals were not associated with what her goals were. You know, we weren't really aligned, even though we were married and we just had our first daughter. I was working for a $100 million accounting firm as a director of BD. And I grew up in Northeast Philly in a row home. And I learned a lot of great lessons from my dad. But to me, that was success. And I would always hang out with people that had more things, and we weren't really aligned. And when I was able to stop and slow down and really understand what do I want my life to be, our relationship got a lot better. I have a much more fulfilled life because of that slowing down. And the line I love to use is that I learned from my coach was slow down to speed up. He taught me this, and it saved my marriage. My two younger daughters probably wouldn't have been born if it weren't for the guiding and the coach that this person gave me.
Oh, wow.
Slow down to speed up. When things are right, you slow down and look around. The rest of life kind of takes care of itself.
It's important that people understand these things. I think that we get so caught up moving so quickly that we don't really think about what we're doing all the time.
I don't think you slow down until you get older. I think as a young man, it's just everything, try to suck in and do everything you can. It's not till you get older and you kind of like look around and you see where your life's at and you kind of take stock. And from there you say, wow, what's going to be tomorrow?
Wow.
And you go from there and you reevaluate things, and things have a different meaning when you're 40 or 50 or 60. They do when you're 20.
Yes, they do.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we take all those life's experiences from 20 to 40 to 50.
Yeah.
And that's makes us who we are today, and it gives us an idea what tomorrow is going to be.
Yeah.
And we think about what tomorrow is going to be.
Yeah.
At least that's how I approach things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Every day, as I get older, each day is like more and more important than the last one.
Yeah.
Because now on the bell curve of life, 68, we're on the downward side over here. We're not 21 looking at what's happening.
Yeah. It would be amazing if like that 20-year-old self understood the 40, 50, 60-year-old mentality at that age. I mean, how powerful
Yeah, it's hard. And your father and your parents and your people who love you try to install and teach you these things, but for some reason when we're so young we have this mental block.
We're not ready.
I'm going to figure it out on my own.
Yeah.
You told me not to step off the mountain, but I'm going to step off and see what happens.
Yeah. Sometimes you just got to know how. They just have to do it. Sometimes the experience is just. You just have to do it on your own and figure out how it works for you and if it works at all for you, and you could be taught everything. You could be like,
Absolutely. And failure is a good thing. We learn from our failures. And it makes us a better person as we move forward in our lives.
We're striving to be, the best parents we can for our 3 young daughters, and that's what I think every parent tries to do. And there was one point where I realized that my wife and I were tending towards more of like the helicopter parents, like, don't fall, don't do that, don't do that. And I realized I'm like, we're not setting our kids up for success because we're trying to protect them so much, where we have to let them fall and feel what it feels like to fall and hurt their arm. And obviously in a safe manner. And there's a lot of obviously much smarter people than me that have more scientific knowledge about that. But I know that if we give them that feeling, that's going to help them better in life. I do talking about the importance of wisdom and applying that as you get older. I have a fun dinner conversation I always like to bring up on dinner, and I usually my trainings too. But I'll ask people. I say, if you could wake up tomorrow and you had $10 million in your bank account, that's option A. Or you wake up tomorrow and you're 10 years younger. You're as wise as you are today. You don't know what the Powerball numbers were last night or who won the Super Bowl last year. You don't have Biff's almanac, But you're as wise as you are today. You're just rewind the clock 10 years. Which do you pick? And it's really interesting to see the difference in what people pick, because generally people who are on the younger side automatically go for the money because they think the money is going to solve some of their current problems and set them up for a better future. And the people that are, typically, at 40 or above say, I want the 10 years because, with those 10 years, I can live much longer. And to me, that's a really important thing. I remember I did it at a dinner party once and I asked my buddy, and we're all in like our late 30s, 40s at the time. And he's never really settled down. He's the guy that still likes to, be single and run around. So he had his girlfriend at the dinner party. I'm asking everybody, and it's just interesting hearing everyone's thing. And I get to her, I said, so what would you pick? She goes, I would definitely do the 10 million. I said, why 10 million? She goes, well, I don't want to be 12 again. So, 12 was a tough year, I guess.
Yeah.
I guess.
It makes a lot of sense from that perspective.
That perspective.
But what would you do with the money? What would you do with the extra years? You'd
Yeah.
probably create more memories for yourself,
Yeah.
for your family, or
Yeah.
the most important people, you know?
Yeah.
The extra years, looking, being as old as I am now, it'd be like hitting the lottery.
Yeah.
If I knew you had all these extra years,
Yeah.
that would be wow.
Yeah.
The money.
Honestly, like what's more valuable, money or time?
Time.
When you think about
Time,
time,
definitely.
time is way more valuable. Yeah.
My brother, who's older than me, always told me, you can always make money, but you can never, relinquish, when you waste time.
Right.
That's the hardest thing to do in the waste.
Yeah.
Money you can always make, but
Yeah.
don't waste your time. Don't
Right.
waste your time. And it's important now, especially as we get older. I try to make the best of each day. I know that sounds cliche, but I get up, and I just try to make the best of it and enjoy it. And like Matthew always tells me, you got to make memories. You have to make memories. Everything's
Yeah.
about memories. Come
Yeah.
see the kids, make memories.
Yeah.
And I try to do that because I know coming to the end here.
The company Chronemic you asked me about earlier.
Yeah.
The name of everybody tells me it's a terrible business name. They're like, "Man, you're going on your own. It's great. I'm so excited for it. What's the name of your business?" I'm like, Chronemic Consulting. They're like, "What? What is that? It sounds like you're sick. Is that a disease?" And I'm like, No. It means a lot. They're like, "Well, how'd you come up with that?" And when I was trying to just find what means what's most important to me.
Yeah.
The definition of chronemic is the study of the interaction between time and communication.
Wow.
To me, our most important asset, as you said, is time.
Time.
And the people that I consult with is helping them save time to help them, live a more fulfilled life and achieve the goals that they want to live. And communication as human beings is our most important tool that we have to communicate with each other. And the better communicators are typically the ones that are going to be able to create better relationships.
Right.
So the logo I have here is about an hourglass.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can see that. But the hourglass is about, we all have sand at the top of our hourglass. We just don't know how much sand is left.
Exactly.
And if we can focus on the sand that's right in the middle, the present, it's going to slow that sand down because we're looking at each grain fall. Because we'll never get this moment back again where we're sitting here on August 22nd.
Right.
And hopefully there's a lot more sand at the top of all of our funnels, but you just never know. So don't waste the sand that's falling because you're too focused on the sand that's at the top, or you're too focused on what the past has been.
Right. And it seems so simple, just like it's like a mental shift. It's just like, don't look at that, look at this. It almost feels like it's that simple, but it just is not. It's
hard to do.
It is.
It's easy to say.
It is.
But it's really hard to do.
Yeah.
I'm going to do something special today.
Yeah.
And try to make that every day.
Yeah.
And that's not easy.
It's not.
That's definitely not easy to do.
It's not easy. We have a lot of distractions, especially today, especially these days. Like we've got our computers, we've got our laptops, we've got our iPads, we have our vehicles that are talking to us, and we have all these things happening all the time. We got earplugs in all the time. Like everyone's walking around with these like little Bluetooth earplugs in, and you're looking, and someone's just walking down the street. And back in the day, we would think they're crazy.
I was at the supermarket and a fellow was standing in front of, cans of whatever he was standing, and he was talking.
Yeah.
And I didn't know the technology at the time.
Yeah.
Something strange
So
here.
this guy's
He's talking to the green. He's talking to the green giant over there. I don't know. It's pretty bizarre.
Yeah.
Now
Is your clam chowder really from New England?
now you,
Now, if he's talking to the cans, that's a whole different animal there.
If the cans are talking about him.
people today, you see people walking. They just everybody's looking down.
Looking
There's
down.
No interaction.
Yeah.
There's videos you see online of people walking, and they walk into a fountain at a mall.
Yeah.
Like, holy moly!
Right.
Samantha, my oldest daughter, she fell out of a tree at the beginning of the summertime this year, which is a tale as old as time. An 8-year-old falling out of a tree and having the arm cast right before she broke her arm. And the doctor said that you don't see too many kids falling out of trees anymore. And we're like, why? He goes, well, outside of sports and trampolines, the number one reason why kids come in here with broken bones is because they have their head buried in their phone and they're bumping into something
and they're
falling down the steps or whatever.
That's wild.
And it is a shame because we think about those distractions. Like I remember my wife said something to me one day. She goes, we were in bed getting up in the morning and I was just looking at my email. She's like, time to go from the little screen to the medium screen so we can go home tonight and relax and watch the big screen,
Yeah.
And she's like, screen.
Right, yeah.
And I will say, this is a big moment that I'm saying here publicly that 2 weeks ago, my wife and I jumped into the minivan world. We bought a minivan.
Oh.
We're minivan people now.
Okay.
Nothing wrong. It's great. I love minivans now. I'm all about my minivan. But when we were buying it, the dealer said, do you want to get the media kit? And I'm like, what's that? He goes, oh, we put iPads in the back of the screen so your kids will just be quiet and they'll just be distracted the whole time while you're driving. You don't have to hear them. And he painted this picture of how it was going to be peaceful for me to have my kids be distracted by a screen. And I just thought to myself, I said, wow, what are we setting our kids up for?
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to pay an extra, whatever, $1,500 to have them not have to think on their own.
Right.
To not have to look out the window and look at that cloud and be like, that cloud looks like a cow or, or a moose or whatever. You know, to say, okay, here's screen, think for me.
Right.
You know, and as we translate that to adults, it becomes a crutch where, and I see this in professional services all the time.
Yeah.
When you go to an event, and you see the person in the corner kind of looking down at their phone. Are they looking down at their phone because there's something so important right now that they have to handle that? Probably.
Yeah.
But or is it a crutch that they don't feel connected to the village or the community? So this is their escape.
Yeah.
You know, where they can say, okay, I'm important. I'm doing something important. But by doing that, it sends the signal out to the world. Don't talk to me. I'm important right now. I have other things going on.
Yeah.
It's just a distraction. That's all it really is.
Yeah.
Therefore, you're never going to get that moment back. You know, and you're going to waste the moment where your biggest client could have just walked right by you.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Is it crippling to our society to be so engrossed in our social media and in our absorption of information, the amount of information that we get now? Then, okay, for instance, in the 80s, we would get a cinder block and a piece of plyboard, and we would jump our bikes over it. At this point, how dangerous is that?
Yeah.
That plyboard goes sliding out, that center block tips over, you know?
Absolutely.
And we're outside, you know, but we're outside, you know, and we're experiencing life versus now we're kind of trapped in an algorithm, you know?
Nobody plays outside anymore. When
Yeah.
I was a kid growing up, I no lie. After breakfast, we'll say 9 o'clock till lunchtime, after lunch till supper time, and then after supper, we played outside all afternoon, all summer.
Yeah.
My friend had a hose, and we drank water from the hose. I can still taste the metallic taste, you know, of sucking out of the hose.
Yeah.
And it was the greatest. Now you go outside, it's quiet. You maybe just hear the birds. There's no kids playing.
Yeah.
Everybody's inside.
Yeah.
My grandson lives with us right now, and he is just a technology. He's just into his iPads and the shows, and he can click on the remotes and just do all these. And he's showing me how to do things.
Yeah.
He says, Dad, Pop, let's play a game. Okay, I'll play a game with you.
Yeah.
And he just knocks it right out, and as I stumble through it, it's just things are so different now. Absolutely.
I wouldn't think it'd be crippling, but I do think that the people that grew up with technology versus the people that did not.
Yeah.
You know, the age before the internet, and I do believe that our generation, you know, as we have 3 different generations here. I'm a early 80s with life before the internet.
Yeah.
And you know, when you wanted to watch that Star Trek show at 8 o'clock, you had to be home at 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
Now,
absolutely.
Now I want to watch, you know, Bluey, Daddy, and boom, 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 and Bluey's on.
Yeah.
So this on-demand culture, I think, is is a better way to put it. That people want things now, and they're currently, when you talk about rushing from next thing to next thing.
Yeah.
This instant gratification, I want what I want now, is a challenging part for human society in general, because it's taught us that, I think, to remove patience from something that's really important, because you had to wait till 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
You know, and people complain, I can't believe that show only comes out on Sunday nights at 9 o'clock. I want to watch it. I won't watch it because I want to, you know, and you like to spread it out, right? You like to enjoy the...
Yeah, I'll never, you know, people now, they just, well, I don't know what's the word, where they
binge?
just watch, they just binge shows.
Binge watch,
right?
yeah.
I don't like, I'd rather watch one night, one episode, another night, another episode, another night, another episode.
Yeah.
Ironically, the other night I wanted to watch a show. We were streaming, and went to click it on, and it said, "Oh, won't be available till, you know, August 31st."
Yeah.
Back to the old days where they only produced one show a week.
A week, yeah.
Instead of putting all 15 or 13 shows on at one time where you could binge it.
Yeah.
And I turned to my wife, Barbara, and I said, "Geez, As Barbara said, oh, well, it's like the old days where you had to, you can only watch it one show a week.
Yeah. But technology has evolved to where it's just a battle for our brains and a battle for our eyes.
Yeah.
And if they can get us to keep coming back.
Yeah.
We were talking about this at breakfast that, when you post something, you're putting a little bit of yourself out there into the world.
Right.
And you're sharing something that was important to you, whether it be your pictures of your kids, your vacation, your political views, whatever you want to post out to the world.
Right.
And then, does the shot of dopamine that hits your, brain when you go back and you see that 10 people liked it.
Yeah.
Or 2 people commented on it. And
right.
it keeps you coming back. Mm-hmm. And I've heard studies, I don't know if they're true or not, that you get that notification on your phone that someone commented or liked your post.
Right.
They won't let you know in real time. So if I post something and then you like it 10 minutes later, I won't get the update when you actually like it. I'll get the update when, Facebook or Instagram knows that I'm not generally on the platform. They'll look at my usage, and when my usage goes down, okay, let's get them here.
Yeah.
Okay, boom. Mm-hmm. Al liked your post. Oh,
right.
Go back in. Now that dip isn't as much of an increase or as a decrease,
Yeah, the algorithm is it's an amazing thing.
Yeah.
And it's a challenging thing too, because algorithms have a tendency of drawing you in. The moment you look at something, like we have my wife's, in 3 months we'll have a baby.
Oh, congratulations.
A little girl. Yeah.
That's great.
Thanks.
That's awesome.
And I go on Instagram and I'm looking at baby stuff, or my wife sends me stuff about babies. Now my feed is filled with baby stuff.
Oh yeah,
amazing?
Yeah,
Is that amazing how that happens.
What's even more amazing is that it's always a black man with a baby.
Really?
Yeah. Even the advertising is coming at me. It's just like a black man with a baby.
Wow.
So it's just like, it's very precise, right? He's sending me everything else, all different walks of life, because I'm a very broad person.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that the algorithm is picking me specifically in a way, and how the algorithm actually grabs hold of you and who you are personality wise. Mm-hmm. For me, it feels a little bit, it feels, it's okay, but it also feels a little dangerous, because like, how quickly can they pull you away from yourself, your ideas of who you are, and draw you into something else based on someone, whoever's paying for the feed.
I agree. Your sense of identity has to be strong before going into it, because you're going to get this gravitational force of what the algorithm thinks you like,
right? And
therefore you get stuck in this vacuum. Yeah. And we all know people that have gone down that rabbit hole, and they just get sucked into it, and they post 30 times a day about how the government's always watching, and and it's like, are they really have the time to do that?
Yeah.
But that's amazing about your daughter being born. Congratulations.
Oh yeah, thank you so much.
Is this your first?
Yeah. First, yeah. Very excited. Yeah. It's I've been learning a lot about myself, and learning, generational trauma type stuff. I'm trying to get over things before she's here, so that I can be that, guiding light for her.
Yeah.
Because I'm always the person who's like, I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm not gonna say, this is what you should do because I've done this and this works for me. Because everyone's in a different reality. Like, my reality is different than your reality. Like, we're all in a different world, basically, if we think about it. And what works for me doesn't work for you, may not work for you. So I'm not going to tell you, hey, look, this is good for you. Like, because it's good for me. Like, a lot of people online, they'll talk about diets and certain that you need to walk this way, but if that's not who you are, it may not balance out for you. Yep. So I'm always in the mindset of like, I'm going to tell you my experiences. These are the things that happened to me. This is how, based on what's happening to you, this is what I experienced from that perspective. If any of that helps for you moving forward, then use some of that.
Yep.
But I'm not going to say, hey, look, don't do that, because that's not going to work for you, but it worked for me. So like, it may not work for you. So just, I give people advice based on what I know, not what I think they should do.
Yeah, and everyone's going to walk their own path.
Exactly.
And if they take your advice, great. And if they don't take your advice, also great. At least you gave them something to bounce off of.
Yeah, and I always tell them, do your research. Don't just listen to what I'm saying. Like, do your research. Make sure you're paying attention to what you need, and take what you want from me, but go out, ask other people stuff.
When people ask for advice, they just want to hear what you have to say and what your opinions on certain things are. They're not necessarily, because they ask, doesn't mean that they're expected to take what you're saying,
right?
And you shouldn't in any way take any type of negative reaction if they don't listen to what you have to say.
Exactly, right.
Because you're right, we're all different. We all walk a certain way. We all walk a different path.
Yeah,
we're all individuals, and we live among ourselves. I mean internally, we talk and we say, but we're not a very, I don't know what the right word is when it comes to other people.
Communal?
Yeah. I mean, we're really isolated in how we do things.
Yeah.
And I never, when people ask me for advice, I never got upset or whatnot if they didn't take it.
Yeah.
And our advice is given based off of our life experiences. Like you mentioned earlier, this is what I did when that happened. And it seemed to work really well for me.
Right.
Not necessarily going to work well for you, but for me at the time. And it depends on the time that we live in and the situation that's around us.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're getting this a lot. The unprovoked parental advice. Here's how you're going to do it. I didn't ask you for your advice, but okay, I'll take your unprovoked parental advice.
Yeah, and I always tell people, especially when they give me that, I always just like, thank you. I'll take that into consideration. Because I'm going to do my research. I'm going to think deeper into it. I'm not just like a guy that just reads the headlines and gets, like aggravated or something like that. I'm going to read the article too.
Yep.
The headline is always going to be provocative. It's always going to try to draw you in.
I want you to click on it.
Like my friend over the weekend, she said, I saw an article the other day, just like wife kills husband with squirrel. How provocative is that? How provocative is that, right? I'm like, how the hell
find that out.
did she kill him with a squirrel?
Was the squirrel angry?
Yeah. Right? So I'm like, what is that? So I'm like, so tell me more now, right? So she read the article, obviously, and it was a ceramic squirrel. Okay, now I see how a squirrel did it. But don't tell me that a squirrel did it, because of course I'm going to click on that.
Yeah.
Clickbait. Got you to do your thing.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, you're getting ads for ceramic squirrels, and you're on some watch list.
A moment you click on it. Oh my
I'll tell you
God.
one thing that someone gave me advice that was unprovoked parental advice that I actually took, and I love it. And I tell everybody, so I'm gonna share this information with you.
Yeah.
Maybe you did it, maybe you did not.
Yeah.
Before my kids were born, I started a Gmail email address for each of them.
Oh, okay.
And
Nice.
I emailed them my thoughts just randomly, just as if I would text you.
Yeah.
I just pull up my phone and quick, how easy to send an email.
Yeah.
I'll email Samantha, hey babe, today you did XYZ, and you fell and you laughed about this joke.
Yeah.
And the goal is that I'm giving her a journal of my thoughts in real time, and then down the road, whatever time I decide to, hopefully I decide when she gets to see it when she's 18 or older.
Yeah.
She gets to read this. This journal or just I don't know, hundreds and hundreds of emails.
Idea.
Yeah.
I think that's an amazing idea.
So each of them have their own,
Yeah.
pictures and everything. So, so like you've been always great at memorializing events through your photography. Now providing we have the ability with the technology, talking about how the importance is now we have the ability to take the technology, take the picture so easily, but then take our brain, our thoughts, which are going to die, and our legacy is going to move on, other than the thoughts that we leave behind, the memories that we leave behind. So being able to add context to the pictures, I think, is really, really important. So.
Oh, I love the I think, I've taken pictures my whole life, and I have Matthew and his sister from the time they were born. Their whole life has been documented in pictures. We're talking 60, 70,000 pictures.
Wow.
That's how many pictures.
Yeah.
And of all the things, when my time comes, right, all the things that I can leave, money and all that, doesn't mean anything. It's the pictures, because it was our life. Our life in photographs. And Matthew and his sister will be fortunate that they'll not only get their lives in pictures, but they'll get my life and their grandparents. We have pictures going back as early as the early 1900s.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So we have a good family history in photography. And for me, the greatest thing that I'm going to leave my two children is this copulation of pictures of our life together. We talk about the Navy and my childhood and growing up and his whole life, documented from the time the doctor said it's a boy.
Yeah. Wow.
Sitting here right now, it's an amazing thing that I'm gonna leave these guys.
What a great legacy.
And everyone is dated. Everyone's in order. I'm very OCD-ish. Everything has to be proper.
Yeah.
And it's something I'm really proud of. And it's something that, you know, I think you guys, when you actually sit and look at these pictures one day, and you say, wow, I think you're going to say, hey, my dad did something really special here.
Yeah.
It's cool to go over and see in the basement to see all the albums. You know, I remember on Saturday mornings, you know, your favorite thing to do would be like have your, you know, your one scrambled egg and your one slice of burnt bacon, and all the pictures lined up on the coffee table with the new album. You know, and, like, opening the film. You know, the thin thing to protect the picture.
Yeah, it was so much fun.
What a wonderful thing.
You know, talk about your time at the Navy. I'm curious because now just seeing some of those pictures, sometimes for the first time, is it cool to relive those memories of you being on the USS America, and tell me about just reliving those moments when you're looking at those pictures.
Absolutely. You know, I look at the guys, and we were all 19, we were 20, 21 years old. We had our whole life in front of us. At the time, the Navy's advertisement was not just a job, it's an adventure.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I remember that.
I was 19. It was 1975. The Vietnam War had just ended.
Yeah.
I had no real direction of what I was going to do in my life. School really wasn't my thing. So I joined the Navy. I didn't tell anybody.
Yeah.
And I only joined the Navy, you know, like why'd you join the Navy and not the Marines or the Air Force?
Yeah.
I had my brother-in-law and my cousin were in the Navy. Yeah, joined the Navy. It was good enough for them. So I joined the Navy, and I needed the discipline that it provided. Okay.
Yeah.
It was an amazing time. Got to travel the world.
Yeah.
Met some great people, and it gave me some direction in life. So when I did get out of the Navy, I was a little bit more mature. I was ready to do some things, you know.
Yeah.
Got married not long after, you know, went to work and, you know, worked the next, you know, 40 years. And then the children came along.
Yeah.
I had a great life, but I look at that as it started with the Navy. That was my real anchor. You know, my
No pun intended.
No.
You heard that too.
We'll be here all week, ladies and gentlemen.
Coming back next Tuesday. And it was a really good experience. And I look back on those pictures, and if I have one regret, I was young. I was 19, 20, 21 years old. I didn't appreciate it as much as I think I should have, or I would have now.
Yeah.
If I go back, I think back, I wish I could have done like this cruise maybe one more time. The person I am now.
Yeah.
But, you know, being that body, being, you know, 20 years old.
Yeah.
It was a great time. And I'm glad I did it.
Yeah.
I had no regrets. My friends went to college and did. But when my time in the service was over and they graduated, we all came back together. And
Yeah.
I had a good life.
That's like what we talked about before, like time and money, what's more valuable, and it's obviously time.
Absolutely.
And retrospect is always the second thought. You know, it's always like, oh wow, back in. I have this thing I like to say, like in retrospect. You know, almost like, well, now you know, and knowing is half the battle. Yo, Joe.
Yeah.
You know,
when you get lost on a road, if you don't, before we had GPSs, you know, it's like, okay, I'm not on the right road. At least I know this is the road I shouldn't be on, right?
Yeah.
At least I know that now moving forward, that decision I made at that point, you know, guided me into the right decision.
right?
You know.
Yeah. How excited are you for VetFest?
VetFest is my favorite event of the year. I love bringing my family to it. This is the third year, I believe, that it's going on. It's my third year, too. Just from seeing the concept of it evolve to what it is today, you know, a day where we can get together to support veterans and their businesses and help them grow. It's something that I believe in.
Yeah.
You know, we talk about regrets. One of my biggest regrets is that I didn't serve in the military. You know, when I was of military age, 9/11 happened, and I had friends that joined at that time. And, you know, I was too concerned with parties and college, and you know, at that part of my life, that was more important. And that's one of my biggest regrets, is that I didn't do that. And I think what gravitates me so much towards Greencastle and to VetFest is that, you know, if I'm going to give my money and give my time to anything, it's going to be to supporting veterans in any way that it is. So, you know, I've committed my, you know, philanthropic part of my life to supporting veterans. You know, it means the most to me because of his service and the lessons I've learned from some of your colleagues here and the people that I know. You know, it's just something that I choose to do. Some people choose to, you know, give to the Three-Legged Dog Foundation, and I love three-legged dogs. Don't get me wrong, but to me, that's what's most important to me. And to have it all come together on one day, and I love helping people. One of the most important things to me is someone has a goal and a dream, and we talked about the spotlight of your life and your vision of what your legacy is going to be. If I can have any positive influence on that, and help you get to your goals quicker, then to me that's fulfilling. So yeah, it's a great day, and I love just teaching my daughters the importance of patriotism and the importance of service. And we'll talk about legacy. That's going to be a really important thing that I want to drive home to them as they get older. So and every year the weather's absolutely beautiful. You can't beat a nice fall day in September.
So September is one of those days, one of those months that you could almost say it's hit or miss, but it's usually pretty decent, weather-wise here. And
September, October, best time of the year.
Oh man, honestly,
the autumn's the best time. Absolutely.
Get that hoodie weather out, But for some reason, it just falls always on a beautiful weather day, in between the food, the music, the camaraderie, the patriotism. It's all great people, and I don't think there's a better way to spend a Saturday. So I'm very grateful to have the opportunity to support it. I'm grateful to be here today.
That's great. And you also sponsored some of this, right?
Yeah. So this was going into business for myself. I was always in accounting, and we always had marketing budgets, and it was always like, we're going to sponsor that, and we're going to sponsor this, and I always was playing with someone else's money. So this is the first year. It's okay. It's like okay, what am I going to sponsor?
Right.
And I'm very lucky that I have the ability to sponsor various things, and Greencastle was one of my first clients. That I remember when I was still working for the accounting firm. Joe says, if you don't start your own company in the next year, I'm going to punch you in the face. And I said, Joe's a big dude, and I was like, I don't want to get punched in the face. So that was really my main motivation for starting my business. I just don't want to get punched in the face by Joe. But when the opportunity came and I saw that there was an opportunity to do that, I said it's a no-brainer. I'm really grateful and lucky to be able to sponsor it. So I'm looking forward to being here today and bring the family. It should be fun.
That's awesome. Well, it's been an amazing journey, especially the fact that I'm not going to date us, but the fact that we've known each other for quite some time, in different areas now, like we're both doing different things than we did when we first met each other. I was doing videography, event videography, weddings. You were doing DJ work. And we've always kind of like, hey, across the room, I think that's a beautiful thing. And so I love running into you. I love seeing your growth. I love that your business is doing well, that you're sponsoring this, you're coming into Greencastle in the way that you are. Thank you for the service that you're providing for people, especially veterans, and being here and giving us the time today to have a conversation and talk about who you are and meeting your dad here and everything like that. I think this was a great conversation. Yeah,
it was a pleasure.
Definitely. Thank you for your perspective, and thank you for that with the photography and the legacy. I think on an audience listening to that right now can say, you know what am I leaving behind for my kids, for my family, and think about that for a minute, and it's like, what am I leaving behind for my family, so thank you for that perspective.
You want to make sure they're taken care of financially and those kind of things. That's all important. But that's secondary to the memories. When I'm gone, I want Matthew and I want his children when they think of me or they look at the pictures, hey, remember Pop. He's a pretty cool dude. Just that's what I want.
One thing that's important, I think every day we have a chance to write the legacy that we want hopefully someone to read. We're writing the book that we hope someone reads one day.
Right.
And one thing I know we're going to get out of here soon, but I remember you doing it at events. You would always hit people with a surprise of something they weren't expecting, and I've kind of manifested that into there's no traffic in the extra mile, and you've seen some of my trainings before. Every day there's a moment to go the extra mile for people, and when you talked about active listening earlier, they're giving you these opportunities to go the extra mile for them. And your thing was at parties, you used to hand out scratch off lottery tickets to people, and that became like the thing. So I kind of picked up on that. I remember I had a poker game. I had like 20 people at my house, and some of them were business colleagues and friends. And as everyone sat down to play poker, I had everything mapped out the whole night. But I, under everyone's seat, I taped a scratch-off ticket to the bottom of their seat. Nobody knew it was there. And I overcharged everybody's buy-in by $20. So when it got to the very moment we were about to deal the first card, I said, wait, everybody, stop. Reach under your seat, and if you have the lucky lottery ticket, you're going to get your poker buy-in paid for tonight. You're playing poker for free because there was a side pot for that. So everybody's reaching down, and they're all excited. Like just look at because everybody were kids. They were curious. What's under? And everybody got it. And they're scratching it off. Well, I put one fake lottery ticket under there that was going to win like $50,000 or something.
Oh wow!
I remember that.
It was so funny. I won $50,000. He's laughing. Everybody's laughing at him. So
everybody loves when you do something above and beyond. beyond
Yeah.
to surprise you.
Yeah.
And that makes people feel really good.
Yeah.
Warm
Yeah.
and fuzzy and comfortable.
On that note, hey Al, I brought you a gift for having us today. Here you go. Keep on scratching, as they say.
Awesome. Thank you.
Did you get the jackpot with split? All right.
Wow. Definitely. Thank you so much. Wow.
Thanks for having me.
Great.
What a great time.
Yeah, this is amazing.
Could you imagine if one of these really hit?
I mean,
Could you how funny?
Well, we're on video right now.
Yeah.
we all had it.
I know, honestly, like this is awesome. Thank you so much. So Matt Blank and Jack Blank.
Yes, sir.
So thank you guys so much for being here. Our Chronemic Consulting.
Yep.
You're going to be at VetFest.
Yep.
We love you here at Greencastle. Definitely looking forward to you coming through and doing some more trainings in the future for sure. So do you have any last words before we sign off? Any shout outs to anyone, anything like that?
Thank you for having us. It was an interesting experience. Thank you for inviting me.
And this is your first experience on a podcast, too.
Absolutely.
That's
I've never spoken to a microphone before. Am I doing it right?
And as we're in the moment now, I've been taking, my own mental video and pictures of like, I'm going to remember this moment with you, that your first podcast. So I'm grateful that I'll be able to watch this, 20, 30 years from now. So.
That's a beautiful
Absolutely.
thing. Yeah.
20, 30, okay.
All right, cool. You're watching too.
You'll send me that picture that we took of us here. I will. I'll add that to the collection and
Well,
life will be good.
thank you guys so much for coming on and everything like that. And to the audience out there, make sure you like and subscribe. This is Shots from the Winchester, brought to you by Greencastle Consulting, your nation's premier strategy execution firm. I'm your host, Al Green, Matt Blank, Jack Blank, and we'll see you in the next episode.